So, we've all heard about compounding when it comes to money, right? But what if I told you it's actually this universal law that's quietly shaping your entire career? That's what we're going to dig into today, how this incredible force can completely transform your professional value. And it all starts with just one tiny, consistent action every single day. This is such a common misconception. So many people think compounding is this exclusive club for Wall Street investors, but it's not. It's a tool, a fundamental tool that's available to every single one of us every single day, and it works in all parts of our lives, not just our bank accounts. Okay, picture this with me for a second. Imagine you're at the top of a huge, snowy hill. You pack a small snowball, maybe just the size of your fist, and you give it a little push. At first, you can barely see it grow. It's so slow. But as it rolls, it picks up a little more snow with every single turn, building on itself. And by the time it reaches the bottom of that hill, it's this massive, unstoppable force. That is compounding. And that little snowball, that's your effort. The long hill, yep, that's your career. So here's the absolute key to understanding this. You do something small today, right? And it creates this tiny little result. But tomorrow, and this is the magic part, you don't start from scratch. You start from where you left off, from that tiny result, and you build right on top of it. It's like knowledge connecting to other knowledge, or a good decision making the next decision just a little bit easier. You are always building on what came before.
But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. See, compounding is a totally neutral force. It's just math. It has no feelings. It doesn't care if your snowball is building you a better life or if it's rolling right back and crushing you. It's a powerful tool for sure, but man, it is a double-edged sword.
And this really shows you the two paths you can take. Your good choices, they compound upward into this amazing sense of freedom. But just as powerfully, your bad choices compound downward into, well, ruin. It means our daily actions have these incredibly high stakes because they're never just isolated events. They're always laying the groundwork for what comes next. Just think about it for a second. The cost of one bad decision. It seems like no big deal at the time, right? But day after day, these tiny deficits, they pile up, and they actually feed on each other. And then a decade goes by, and you can wake up one day just feeling totally trapped, completely exhausted, wondering, how did my life get so hard? What you're feeling, that's the crushing weight of negative compounding.
Okay, so how do we get our snowball rolling in the right direction? Well, we start with the single greatest investment any of us can ever make. And I'm not talking about stocks or bonds, I'm talking about investing in our own capabilities. Let's really dig into how we can build our most valuable asset.
Let's be real. Every single dollar you will ever save or invest or spend, it has to be generated first. And it's generated by your ability to provide value to someone else. That's your engine. Money is just the exhaust, the byproduct. So if you really want to speed things up, you have to apply the law of compounding directly to the engine itself.
I love this way of thinking about it. Picture your mind as a toolbox. When you start a new job, it's pretty much empty, right? Maybe a hammer and a screwdriver. But what if you made it a goal to add one small tool every single day? Read a chapter. Watch a tutorial. Ask a really smart question. See, knowledge doesn't just add up, it multiplies. A random fact you learned a year ago suddenly connects with a new skill, and boom, you see a solution that nobody else can. You do this for a decade, you become indispensable.
But what about the opposite? What if you just stop? You learn the basics you need for your job, and then you think, okay, that's enough, and you just decide to coast. This is a trap that millions of people fall into, and honestly, the consequences are brutal. Here's the thing. The world is always changing. The economy evolves, technology moves forward. If you're standing still, you are mathematically falling behind. Your skills are losing value, depreciating, every single day you choose not to learn. So when a recession hits, or a company has to restructure, who do you think is the first to go? It's always the stagnant worker. Okay, so compounding your skills gets you in the door and makes you valuable. That's huge, but it's not the whole story. If you want to really truly thrive, you have to compound two other things that are just as important, your reputation and your personal habits. Think about this. Trust is the absolute bedrock of a great career, and it's built in thousands of tiny little moments. Showing up on time, doing what you said you would do, owning your mistakes instead of hiding them. For a really long time, it might feel like nobody's even noticing. but trust me, they are. It can take decades, 20 years of consistent, honorable behavior to build a reputation that's so solid it acts like a magnet, just pulling opportunities towards you. 20 years of doing the right thing, day in and day out. And it takes about 5 minutes to shatter that reputation into a million pieces. One big lie, one ethical compromise, and that compounding clock is violently reset all the way back to zero. The fragility of trust is probably the most unforgiving part of this whole equation. You have to guard it like it's your most valuable asset, because it is.
All right, now let's talk about the machine that runs everything, your body and your mind. When we're in our 20s, right, we can get away with anything, terrible sleep, bad food, because our bodies are just so resilient. We think those choices are free. But here's the secret. Biology only sends delayed invoices. By the time we're 40 or 50, that bill comes due. It shows up as burnout, chronic illness, and just not being as sharp as we used to be. The chains of those bad habits become way too heavy to break.
But the good news is, positive habits are just as powerful when they compound. And look, these actions are simple, but that doesn't mean they're easy. Fiercely protect your sleep. Go for a 30-minute walk every day. And try this one. Just pause for 3 seconds before you react to something frustrating. In that tiny little pause, you take back control. Over time, these habits build an incredibly resilient machine ready for anything. So we've talked about your money, your skills, your reputation, your habits. All these different snowballs are rolling down the hill, and they're all heading towards one single, ultimate destination, the person you are fundamentally becoming. This is such a powerful idea. We tend to think our identity as this fixed thing, like a permanent label. Oh, I'm not a morning person, or I'm just not good with details. But that's not really true, is it? Your identity is simply the sum of all your compounded choices. You are literally building yourself, brick by brick, every single day. And this right here is the real difference maker. Your intentions, I intend to learn a new skill, they're just wishes floating in the air. They don't compound. What does compound are your standards, the absolute minimum behavior you tolerate from yourself day in and day out. That is the true engine of who you become. Think of it like this. When you choose to read for 30 minutes instead of scrolling social media, you've just cast a vote for I am a learner. When you tell the truth, even when a lie would be easier, you've cast a vote for I am an honorable person. Now, one vote doesn't win an election, but thousands of those votes stacked up over a decade, that creates a landslide. You literally become that person. So the most important point, and the question I want to leave you with, is this. The law of compounding is always working. It never stops. Your snowball of skill, of trust, of health, of identity. It is rolling right now as you listen to this. All you have to do is look carefully at your small, repetitive, daily actions. They hold the answer. So which direction is it headed?